Hillary Clinton's lead in the Democratic field is shrinking today. That's according to a new national poll out. It shows that 33% of people would vote for her.
Joe Biden, who has yet to even declare a White House run, is 8 points behind at 25%. And Bernie Sanders trails Biden by 1 point, but that's within the margin of error. Joining us on set is Caitlin Huey-Burns, political reporter for Real Clear Politics. Caitlin, thanks so much for being here. So we're looking at these new numbers and also the news that came out that Clinton's server wasn't wiped entirely clean. Is her campaign in crisis mode?
Well, every time she tries to change the subject, turn a corner, she is faced with a new controversy about her emails. Over the past couple of weeks, she's tried to show more of her personality. We've seen her on the late night talk shows. We saw her on Ellen. And now, as she tries to shift to policy, more information about the emails comes out. And she's continuing to fall in the polls. Now, her campaign says we're still leading. These numbers were still early in the campaign. But remember, we're after Labor Day now. And this is when people are really starting to pay attention. So there definitely has to be at some point a big shift from her campaign to kind of try to put this behind her and really move forward. Whether she can do that is an open question.
Now, we're seeing these poll numbers there on our screen. Vice President Biden is making some pretty big gains, even though he hasn't declared that he is running for the presidency. Is it that some supporters of Hillary Clinton are deciding to jump to Joe Biden, even though he's not in the race yet?
Well, he is leaving the question open, and people don't really know what to decide. Most of the Democratic Party, in terms of staff, in terms of party leaders, are behind Hillary Clinton. But voters are still making up their minds. And if there's a possibility of another person entering the race, they'll keep their minds open. There is little difference policy-wise between Biden and Clinton. So he would have to make the case. And remember, before you enter the race, you have some of the best numbers of your life. So those are bound to fall.
Before we get to this other question, I want to harp on something that you said there. It's interesting that this race for the presidency has been framed around the issue of outsiders. And yet, with these numbers that are increasing for Joe Biden, and you just said it yourself, that his positions are not all that different from Secretary Clinton. So what's behind that?
Well, it's interesting. We'll see. So far, a lot of the Democratic supporters, donors, staff are behind Clinton. But if they start to figure that she's not handling this controversy, for example, to the way they would like, they could perhaps see another opening. Where Sanders, though, has an advantage is that he has a clear message and a clear base of support. His, obviously, challenge will be translating that into actual votes. But so far, he shows no signs of slowing down. And we saw Hillary Clinton respond to that yesterday, actually, by opposing the Keystone Pipeline, which is something she's been waiting to weigh in on.
All right, well, let's jump over to the Republican side and talk about a big outsider who is Donald Trump.
Yes.
And he's traveling to South Carolina to talk with some African-American leaders. Looking at these new poll numbers, when African-American voters were asked if Trump is honest and trustworthy, 17% said yes, 73% said no. Does he have a shot at making gains with them down in South Carolina, especially after everything that's been going on recently?
I think it will be very difficult, also considering that there are so many candidates to choose from, and Donald Trump has not really established himself as someone who is open to these groups. This will be a really interesting and different kind of event for Donald Trump. Remember, all the events he's had so far are a very friendly crowd, very people who are coming out to support him, who want to listen to him. So this is kind of venturing into a little bit of a different territory. I mean, he will be a little bit out of his element. Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina has been hosting town halls with all of the presidential candidates, trying to get them to come to South Carolina, which is the third voting state. So lots of these candidates will be going through.
The other GOP candidate that is making some inroads today is Carly Fiorina. She is in South Carolina today. She's been surging ahead in the polls ever since her first debate performance, but clearly after the second GOP debate, her numbers are increasing. What can we expect from her?
Well, she has had a remarkable rise indeed. And as you know, the more that you rise, you come under the microscope. So her business record at Hewlett-Packard and some of her other past experiences will be under tougher scrutiny. We've seen Donald Trump go after her business record, and other rivals will, I think, pinned to that. But it is interesting to see, she is trying to consolidate the outsider support. So there, Donald Trump and Ben Carson are running as well as outsiders. Her mission will be to really consolidate that support.
Real quick. Oh, go ahead. All right.
We got
to go. We wanted to keep talking to you. Caitlin Huey-Burns from Real Clear Politics. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
This Sunday is the season premiere of 60 Minutes. Scott Pelley visited Trump at his office in New York City for a one-on-one interview. Don't miss it. That's this Sunday only on CBS.